Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wisdom and Wit, where we take a deep dive into the shallow end of the political pool. I'm Jimmy, your guide through this cesspool of comedy. Now, let's get this show rolling like a drunk possum on a hill. So, have y'all heard about our new governor, Kelly Ayotte? She's making waves faster than a skinny dipper in a shark tank. She's gone and created this thing called COGE, Commission on Government Efficiency. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jimmy, that sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry on a sloth. But hold on to your MAGA hats, folks, because this is where it gets interesting. See, our girl Kelly's taken a page right out of Trump's playbook. He's got his DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, and now we've got our very own COGE. Now, I gotta say, I love me some efficiency. Hell, I once dated a girl so efficient, she could put on her makeup, eat breakfast, and dump me all in the same text message. That's the kind of multitasking we need in government. But here's the kicker. Kelly's all about cutting costs and streamlining operations. It's like she's trying to put the entire state government on the Atkins diet. Next thing you know, we'll have state troopers riding around on those little Segways to save gas money. Can you imagine? And let me tell you, folks, when a Republican starts talking about efficiency, you know things are about to get leaner than a vegan cat at a dog show. It's going to be like trying to squeeze blood from a stone, except the stone is our budget and the blood is, well, probably our paychecks. But hey, who needs roads and schools when we can have a really efficient government, right? I mean, sure, your kids might have to dodge potholes on their way to their cardboard box classroom, but at least they'll learn some real-world survival skills. Now I know what you're thinking. Jimmy, you handsome devil. How's Kelly going to pull this off? Well, let me tell you. She's got a plan slicker than a greased pig at a county fair. She's bringing in the big guns, and I mean B.I.J. We're talking about former Governor Craig Benson and some hotshot businessman Andy Cruz. These fellas are going to be leading the charge. And let me tell you, they're about as excited as a couple of foxes guarding the henhouse. They're probably sitting in their fancy offices right now, trying to figure out how to turn the state capitol into a giant Walmart. But here's the real kicker. They're doing it for free. That's right, folks. These millionaires are so concerned about government efficiency, they're willing to work pro bono. It's like watching Bill Gates clip coupons or Jeff Bezos dumpster diving. You gotta admire that level of commitment to penny pinching. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear millionaires working for free, my BS detector starts going off like a smoke alarm at a Cheech and Chong convention. But hey, who are we to question their motives? I'm sure they're just doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. And maybe a teensy-weensy tax break or two. But you know what? I say bring it on. Let's see what these business bigwigs can do. Maybe they'll surprise us all and turn New Hampshire into the Disneyland of efficient government. Instead of Mickey Mouse, we'll have mini budget roaming around, handing out pink slips and how to apply for food stamps pamphlets. And who knows, maybe they'll come up with some real innovative ideas. Like, instead of welfare checks, they could just hand out lottery tickets. It's basically the same thing, right? But folks, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is just the beginning of Kelly's grand experiment in government shrinkage. It's like she's trying to put the entire state on one of those ab roller infomercials. Now I know some of you might be worried about what this means for our beloved state services. But don't you fret. I'm sure they'll find a way to keep all the important stuff. Like, well, I'm sure there's something. Maybe they'll keep the live free or die signs. After all, we might need those as kindling when the budget for heating assistance gets cut. But hey, let's look on the bright side. With all this efficiency, maybe our government will finally run smoother than a greased-up politician at a lobbyist convention. And if not, well, at least we'll all be experts at doing more with less. Now, folks, I could go on all night about this COGE business, but I've got a feeling we're in for a real treat. Coming up next, we've got a man who knows a thing or two about efficiency. He's so efficient, he can bankrupt a casino faster than you can say you're fired. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one, the only Donald.
Thanks, Jimmy. You're a real class act. Unlike my ex-wife's lawyer, that guy's about as classy as a stripper at a bar mitzvah. Speaking of strippers, did you hear about my little legal tango? Apparently, I'm the first president to take office with a criminal conviction. Talk about making history. I always said I'd leave my mark. You know, standing there in court, I felt like I was back in my beauty pageant days. Except instead of being judged on my swimsuit body, I was being judged on my hush money skills. Let me tell you, I've got some mad skills in both departments. But seriously, folks, this whole thing is more rigged than a carnival game run by a one-armed carny with a lazy eye. I mean, come on. They're trying to make me look bad just days before I take office. It's like getting a pimple on prom night, except the pimple is the size of Manhattan and filled with liberal tears. You know what really grinds my gears? The timing of this whole circus. 10 days before I take office, they decide to play Let's Embarrass the Donald. I haven't felt this uncomfortable since I accidentally walked into the women's locker room at Mar-a-Lago. Actually, scratch that. That was pretty enjoyable. But hey, at least I got an unconditional discharge. Sounds kinky, right? I haven't had one of those since my last trip to Russia. Putin sure knows how to throw a party. You know what's really wild? The judge said, and I quote, Donald Trump, the ordinary citizen, Donald Trump, the criminal defendant, would not be entitled to such considerable protections. Ordinary. Criminal? Has he seen my hair? There's nothing ordinary about this golden mane, folks. It's criminal how good it looks. And let's talk about that Supreme Court decision. They voted 54 against me. I haven't been this disappointed since I found out Ivanka was my daughter. I mean, talk about a missed opportunity. But you know what? I'm not worried. This is just a speed bump on the highway to making America great again. Again. It's like that time I tried to build a golf course on a Native American burial ground. Sure, there were a few bumps and possibly some curses, but in the end, I got my fairway. And let me tell you, it's the best fairway. People come from all over to see it. They say, Donald, how did you make such a great fairway? And I say, it's simple. Speaking of moving bones, did you hear about Biden's latest physical? Apparently, they had to carbon date him just to figure out his age. I'm telling you, by the time he leaves office, he'll be more fossil than president. But back to my legal troubles. You know what's really funny? They think this will slow me down. I'm like a political cockroach, baby. Nuclear war? I'll survive. Impeachment? Please, I eat those for breakfast. Criminal charges? That's just my daily vitamins. And let's be real, folks. This whole thing is just a witch hunt. But unlike the Salem trials, I'm not going down without a fight. I've got more tricks up my sleeve than a magician at a kid's party who's also a registered sex offender. You know what really gets me? They keep using the word unprecedented. Unprecedented this, unprecedented that. You know what's really unprecedented? The size of my electoral college victory. What did you think I was going to say? Get your minds out of the gutter, people. But seriously, folks, this is all part of my master plan. See, I figure if I collect enough criminal charges, I can trade them in for a free sub at Subway. By the end of my second term, I'll be eating fresh for life. And don't even get me started on that judge, Juan Merchant. Sounds like a character from a low-budget telenovela. Tonight on Passion and Presidents, Juan Merchant sentences El Donaldo to a life of unconditional love. But you know what? I'm not bitter. I'm like fine wine. I only get better with age and legal troubles. By the time I'm done with my second term, I'll have more convictions than Lindsay Lohan and more pardons than a Thanksgiving turkey farm. And hey, at least I'm making the history books. First president to be impeached twice. First president to take office with a criminal conviction. I'm collecting firsts like Pokemon cards. Gotta catch 'em all, right? But enough about me and my legal escapades. Let's talk about something really criminal, like the price of gas these days. It's so high, I'm thinking of replacing Air Force One with a giant hamster wheel. We'll power it with all the hot air coming out of Congress. Speaking of hot air, I hear the next comedian coming up is hotter than a MAGA rally in July. Give it up for the Southern belle of comedy, the gal who puts the Dixie in Dixie cup. Dixie.